The time is precisely 1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Chandima Virakon. Headlines. 5 subcommittees have been appointed to obtain compensation for the damage caused by the fired Express Pearl vessel. The name of Ranil Wickremesinghe will be gazetted on the 18th of this month for the National List seat. A program to provide organic fertilizer to the farmers before the Maha season will take place. More than 20,000 proposals to develop rural roads. Shani Abesekara has been released on bail. Israel strikes in Gaza after arson balloons launched. Local stories in detail. 5 subcommittees have been appointed to estimate the damage and to take legal action to obtain the insurance claim of the harm caused by the fired Express Pearl vessel. The Ministry of Justice stated that these subcommittees have been appointed as insurance, legal, fisheries, environment and economy. He said any institution or organization which are interested on the damage caused by this vessel can direct their information to the number 0112 445447 and email address reforms@moj.gov.lk. Chairman of the Election Commission, Nimal Punchiheva, stated that the United National Party leader Ranil Wickremesinghe's name will be gazetted as the UNP National List MP on the 18th of June. The name of the United National Party leader and former Prime Minister has been handed over to the Election Commission to fill the National List seat in Parliament. General Secretary of the party, Palitha Rangebandara, said all documents were handed over to the Commission this morning. Irrigation Minister Chamal Rajapaksa says that the time has come to stop the chemical fertilizer racket. He said the food production should be carried out without poison in order to create healthy citizens. Therefore, organic fertilizer should be used instead of using chemical fertilizer. Accordingly, the government has prepared a program to provide organic fertilizer to farmers before the forthcoming Maha season. He also reiterated that a new method should be created to increase the harvest by using organic fertilizer. He made these remarks at the National Coordination Agricultural Subcommittee held yesterday. He also emphasized organic fertilizer should be produced not only for paddy but also for the vegetable and crop cultivation in the country. It has also been decided to accelerate the development work of rural canals and tanks speedily under the Vari Saubhagya National Program to protect the national food. Former Director of the Criminal Investigation Department, Shani Abesekara, has been released on bail along with and former Sub-Inspector of CID, Sugat Mendes. They were released under strict bail conditions when the case was taken up today before the appeals court bench consisting of Justices Nisanka Bandula Karnaratna and R. Guru Singha. Accordingly, the 2 suspects, including Shani Abesekara, were released on a cash bail of 25,000 rupees and 2 personal bonds worth 1 million rupees each. However, the suspects were ordered to hand in their passports to the court, imposing a foreign travel ban on them. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Moving on with the local stories. The police say that operations will be conducted by using drone technology to apprehend the persons who are violating quarantine rules during the travel restriction period in future. These operations will be implemented in the island under the instruction of the IGP. The police also said that the individuals who are obstructing the COVID eradication program by violating quarantine rules will be taken into custody and they will be produced before the courts. Police teams have been deployed for this task. To end the local news, the headlines again. 5 subcommittees have been appointed to obtain compensation for the damage caused by the fired Express Pearl vessel. The name of Ranil Wickremesinghe will be gazetted on the 18th of this month for the National List seat. A program to provide organic fertilizer to the farmers before the Maha season will take place. More than 20,000 proposals to develop rural roads. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On the main news story, State Minister Nimal Lanza says that 20,903 proposals have been received to implement road development projects in 14,022 Grama-Niladhari divisions. Accordingly, 2 million rupees will be given for each Grama-Niladhari division to lay carpet and concrete. Under this program, priority will be given for the roads which are lower than 1 kilometers in rural areas. This program will be implemented under the Saubhagya Dakma program of the President. At present, 5,991 proposals have already been commenced and 5,228 million rupees has been released to implement these projects soon. That ends the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watch Light, the government has provided 4,600 metric tons of fertilizer to distribute among farmers in the Nuwara Eliya district at a concessionary price. Several complaints have been received that these stocks of fertilizer were taken from some persons by submitting false information in order to sell at higher prices. Minister C.B. Ratnayaka has advised the DIG of Nuwara Eliya, Commissioner of Agrarian Services and the Consumer Affairs Authority to apprehend such persons. That ends Watch Light. Moving on to world news, the headlines. Israel strikes in Gaza after arson balloons launched. Billionaire Mackenzie Scott gives away £2 billion more. US death toll passes 600,000 as vaccination rate slows. Israel says it has launched airstrikes against Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip in retaliation for incendiary balloons fired from the territory. Explosions were heard in Gaza City in the early today. Several balloons were sent from Gaza into Israel earlier yesterday, causing multiple fires, according to the Israeli fire services. It is the first major flare-up since 11 days of fighting between the two sides ended in a ceasefire on 21st May. It followed a march by Jewish nationalists in occupied eastern Jerusalem yesterday, which had drawn threats from Hamas, the militant group that runs Gaza. Billionaire Mackenzie Scott, ex-wife of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, has donated another $2.7 billion to a range of charities. Ms. Scott said in a blog post that she wanted to give the money to those that have been historically underfunded and overlooked. She wrote that she had chosen 286 organizations in working on racial inequality, the arts and education. Ms. Scott is one of the world's richest women. Much of her fortune comes from her 2019 divorce from Mr. Bezos, who is currently the world's richest man. The number of Americans who have died from COVID-19 has reached 600,012, the most of any nation, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. The US also ranks highest in total number of recorded cases, with nearly 33.5 million infections since 2020. This latest milestone comes as President Joe Biden's goal of getting 70% of US adults vaccinated by 4th of July appears increasingly likely to fail. Over 173 million people, around 52% of the US, have had at least one dose. To end the world news, the headlines again. Israel strikes in Gaza after arson balloons launched. Billionaire Mackenzie Scott gives away £2 billion more. US death toll passes 600,000 as vaccination rate slows. That ends world news. Moving on to development news. The government has received the cabinet approval to award the contract to Hiruras Power Private Limited to construct a wind power plant in Mannar. Cabinet approval was granted on the 29th of January 2019 to add 60 megawatts of wind power capacity to 5 grid substations at Trincomalee, Mena, Madampe, Bolavatta and Kappal Thurai. That ends development news. We move on to sports news now. New Zealand named a 15-man squad for the WTC final. Kane Williamson, who missed the second test of the recently concluded series against England, returns to lead the squad, as does wicketkeeper batsman BJ Watling. Colin de Granholm has been included as a specialist all-rounder, while Ajaz Patel is the specialist spinner. That ends sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
And on business news, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation signed a memorandum of understanding with the Hambantota International Port Group last week to develop Hambantota Port as a strategic energy centre in Sri Lanka at the Ministry of Energy, with top officials of CPC and HIPG participating. A separate storage terminal with associated facilities for both domestic and export purposes connected to the port via a pipeline is to be established by CPC. That ends business news.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news. Courtesy of
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Moving on to economic news. The Kondachi estate, which belongs to the Lanka Kashi Corporation, will be developed. A discussion in this regard was held at the relevant state ministry recently. State Minister Janaka Wakkumbara said that more attention was paid to establish modern solar power networks to supply electricity to this estate. That ends economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And finally, on the weather report, the Met Department says several spells of showers will occur in western, central, Saparagamuwa and northwestern provinces and in Galle and Mathura districts. Wind speed will be 30 to 40 kilometers per hour in the western slopes of the central hills, northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in Hambantota and Trincomalee districts. The wind speed can be increased up to 50 kilometers per hour at times in these areas. That ends the weather report.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And to end this bulletin of news, the headlines again. 5 subcommittees have been appointed to obtain compensation for the damage caused by the Fire Express Pearl vessel. The name of Ranil Wickramasinghe will be gazetted on the 18th of this month for the national list seat. A program to provide organic fertilizer to the farmers before the Maha season will take place. More than 20,000 proposals to develop rural roads. Shania Besekara has been released on bail. Israel strikes in Gaza after arson balloons launched. That ends this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.